It hurts. I can't move, she sobbed, her voice shredding into the night as her body collapsed against the cold stone floor. Elena didn't remember falling. 1 second she had been standing in the center of the great hall, heart pounding, palms sweating, surrounded by wolves who refused to meet her eyes. The next, her knees buckled. Pain ripped through her spine like claws tearing flesh. Her vision blurred. The torchlight fractured into streaks of gold and red, and then there was silence. Not real silence, worse. The kind filled with held breaths, with judgment, with fear. At the far end of the hall, seated on the raised obsidian throne, the Alpha King rose slowly to his feet. Lucian Blackmore, the strongest alpha alive, the King of Kings, cold, untouchable, ruthless, and the man who had just rejected her. I warned you, Lucian said, his voice carrying across the hall like steel dragged across stone. You don't belong here. Elena tried to lift her head, tried to speak. Her body wouldn't listen. I tried, she whispered, though she didn't know if anyone heard. I really did. A murmur rippled through the gathered alphas and ranked wolves. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked relieved. A few looked afraid. Lucian stepped forward once, then stopped. For a heartbeat, something flickered in his eyes. Then it vanished. Clear the hall, he ordered. This is over. 2 guards moved toward her. That was when Elena screamed. Not from fear, from agony. Her back arched violently. A broken cry tearing from her throat as something inside her burned. No. Shattered like her bones were being rewritten from the inside out. I can't, please, she gasped. Something's wrong. The guards froze. Lucian's jaw tightened. This is a trick, someone muttered. She's playing for mercy. Elena's fingers clawed at the floor. Tears streamed down her cheeks as waves of pain crushed her lungs. She felt like she was drowning on dry land. Lucian turned away, and that broke her more than the pain ever could. Hours earlier, she had stood before him hopeful. Now she lay abandoned. Elena had known coming to the Alpha Court was dangerous. As an unranked wolf from a forgotten border pack, she wasn't supposed to be there. She'd grown up hearing whispers about the Alpha King, how he crushed rebellions with a thought, how his rejection was a death sentence, but she'd also heard the other stories. The quiet ones. The ones no one said out loud. That Lucian Blackmore was fated, that his mate would change everything. She never imagined that mate could be her. When the pull had hit her weeks ago sharp, undeniable, she'd thought she was losing her mind. Every instinct screamed his name. Every dream led her to those black eyes, that cold, commanding presence. So she came. She walked into his world, knowing she could be destroyed, and she was, dragged from the hall and thrown into the healer's chamber like unwanted cargo. Elena faded in and out of consciousness. Pain still racked her body, though it dulled to a deep, pulsing ache. She woke to whispers. She should be dead. That wasn't a normal collapse. The magic spiked. Elena forced her eyes open. An elderly healer stood over her, hands trembling as they hovered inches above Elena's chest, refusing to touch her. What are you? The healer whispered. Elena swallowed. Her throat burned. I'm just Elena. The healer backed away as if burned. No, she said. You're not. Outside the chamber, Lucian stood in the shadows, fists clenched at his sides. He told himself he didn't care. He told himself this was just another manipulative Omega trying to claim power through him. So why hadn't he been able to leave? Why was her screams still echoing in his head? She nearly shattered the ward lines, one of the council members said nervously. That kind of energy enough, Lucian snapped. The room fell silent. Lucian stared at the closed door of the healer's chamber. He hadn't felt that pull in over a century, and when he had felt it, it had terrified him, because the bond had answered, because his wolf had howled in recognition, and because if Elena was truly his mate, rejecting her might have been the worst mistake of his immortal life. Inside the chamber, Elena curled inward, trying to make herself smaller. She had survived rejection before. Whispers, cold shoulders, packs that didn't want her because she was different. But this was annihilation. Every cell in her body felt wrong, like something ancient had been woken to early. She pressed her hand to her chest, where the bond burned faintly, painfully. I'm sorry, she whispered to no one. I didn't mean to cause trouble. The healer watched her with wide and settled eyes. Child, she said slowly, what do you know about your bloodline? Elena frowned weakly. Nothing. My parents died when I was young. The pack elder said we weren't important. The healer's face drained of color. That's what they always say, she murmured, before the truth burns them alive. Days passed. Elena wasn't allowed to Leave. She wasn't allowed visitors, and she definitely wasn't allowed answers. Lucian didn't come. That hurt the most. Every night, she felt him, his presence like a storm pressing against the edges of her awareness. Close, watching, fighting something. On the fourth night, she finally snapped, when the pain returned worse than before. Elena screamed until her throat tore. This time, the ground shook, stone cracked, and every wolf in the fortress dropped to their knees. Lucian felt it like a blade through his spine. Where is she? He roared. Guards scattered as he stormed toward the healer's wing, power rolling off him in suffocating waves. He slammed the door open. Elena was suspended above the bed, her body glowing with silver and deep, molten gold. Symbols burned across her skin, ancient, regal, terrifying. The healer lay unconscious in the corner. Lucian froze. That's impossible, he breathed. Elena's eyes snapped open. They weren't brown anymore. They were pure, luminous gold. Her gaze locked onto him, pain and betrayal cutting deeper than any weapon. You left me, she whispered, her voice echoing with something not entirely her own. Lucian took a step forward, despite every instinct, screaming danger. I didn't know, he said hoarsely. You rejected me, she said, tears sliding down glowing cheeks. You let me break. The bond surged violently. Lucian dropped to one knee. For the first time in his life, the Alpha King bowed. I was wrong, he said, the words tasting like blood. And I will spend eternity paying for it if I must. But you are not alone anymore. Elena's power faltered. She collapsed. Lucian caught her before she hit the floor. The moment he touched her, the bond locked into place. The fortress trembled, and far beyond its walls, something ancient stirred. Awakening to her return, Lucian held her close, fear clawing at his chest. What are you? He whispered into her hair. Elena's unconscious lips curved into the faintest, saddest smile. Someone you should have never let go. And somewhere deep within the shadows, a voice older than kings whispered her true name, one that would change the fate of every wolf alive.